How would you spend $10 trillion? Buy a garage full of sports cars? Build a mansion as big as Vatican City? If you're wise, you'd follow the Rothschilds' example. They spend money in the billions, but only where it counts. They don't buy, they invest. So imagine the all-out surprise when Nat Rothschild bought the $85 million Planet 9 superyacht. The name, of course, comes from being larger than Pluto itself. No wonder the science community decided the dwarf planet at the solar system's edge can no longer be named a planet. But who can resist seeing such beauty? Just look at her. One could argue Nat fell in love. Or maybe he was peer pressured by his wealthy friends into buying an ultra-luxurious yacht. Imagine everyone is going for a sail while poor Nat sits at the dock crying, "He's a Rothschild, goddammit! He deserves better, nay, he deserves the best." Indeed, Nat's purchase was seen as a rarity by all, and several other Rothschilds voiced their concerns. Still, Baron Edmund de Rothschild's grandson was firm. This is not a luxury. This is an investment. After all, who said that investments can't have an ultra-luxurious VIP suite, an owner's deck worth half of London, and 9 other elegant cabins if you decide to host the G8 summit on your yacht? After all, most tinfoil-hatted gentlemen around the world claim that the Rothschilds are ruling the world. So why hide it? To top it all off, the guests could also arrive by helicopter, since driving to the port is so plebeian. Regardless, Nat's adamant that this is nothing more than an investment. And though the Rothschild patriarchs might have a thing or two to say about that, our next entry is, without a doubt, something even Mayor Amschel Rothschild would find appealing. The Rothschilds are an old Ashkenazi Jewish family that originated in Frankfurt. During the mid-18th century, they lived in a small house in the Jewish ghetto in Frankfurt. They shared their home with several other families. This house actually gave the Rothschilds their name. Back then, houses were distinguished not by a number, but rather by an emblem hanging above the door. So, Mayor Amschel, the first powerful Rothschild in history, was referred to as Mayor Amschel from the Red Shield, or in Old German, der Rothschild. So, when Mayor's son, Nathan Rothschild, bought Gunnersbury Park in 1830 to build one truly astounding mansion, guess what was hanging above the door? Nathan Rothschild's story is a bit complicated. Once he came of age, he was sent to Great Britain to expand the Rothschild Empire inside the vast United Kingdom. After all, how can you control the entire world if you don't have agents in the empire that covers a quarter of the globe? Nathan didn't take this mission well. Initially, he thought his father was disappointed in him and was chasing him away in a new, hostile, and unknown land. It was only after Mayer died in 1812 that Nathan understood his father's decision. He sent Nathan not because he didn't trust him around the family business, but precisely because he trusted him to succeed on his own in this hostile environment. Thus, Nathan decided to build a mansion to commemorate his father and put his crescent on one of the most expensive buildings at the time. Therefore, the son, who was too late to show his father the gratitude he deserved, bought some land for £17,000, equivalent to roughly $3 million today, and built paradise. Nathan transformed the deserted fields at Gunnersbury into a beautiful park with a central piece, a magnificent mansion filled to the teeth with tapestries, works of art, and all sorts of luxuries. The early 19th century kind. So when the house was sold just 100 years later, the price rose 100-fold as they sold it for the staggering equivalent of $132 million in today's money. This was by far the most expensive house in England, not owned by the Crown. Still, with a $25 billion portfolio, this colossal estate looks like an overcrowded dormitory room with a shared bathroom compared to the rest of their estates. Along with what's essentially real estate hoarding spread over 3 continents, the Rothschilds have other passions as well. Wine and art are 2 things that the entire family takes to the extreme. You needn't look any further than Chateau Mouton Rothschild to see that. The chateau itself is a piece of architectural landmark on its own. It dates back to the 12th century, when the first vineyards were seeded. In 1853, Nathaniel de Rothschild traveled alongside these parts of France when he stumbled upon this vast field of grapes. As a lover of good wine, he ordered a bottle of the finest wine, regardless of the price. Little did he know, this wine would haunt his dreams. He tried several other wines along his journey, yet none came even close to what Chateau Mouton offered. It was like Coke, only much more addictive. So, on his way back, Nathaniel made an offer that would skyrocket the previous owners into the rich man's life. After the purchase, Nathaniel renamed it Chateau Mouton Rothschild. Under the leadership of the Rothschild family, Chateau Mouton Rothschild has consistently produced some of the world's finest wines. But when you're a Rothschild, being the best in a business is the bare minimum. Baron Philippe de Rothschild was chilling out with a glass of his favorite wine one night, wondering how to spend a colossal amount of money and make this wine even better. Sitting in his favorite armchair, staring at the fireplace in front, Baron Philippe's gaze suddenly fixed on a painting hanging just on the right of the fireplace. It was a Picasso with its glorious cubic forms. Philippe thought about how art infinitely improves wine taste, and a grand idea came to his mind. Why not sell art along with the wine? Thus, since 1945, the bottles are genuine art pieces, as the labels are commissioned to famous artists like Francis Bacon and Picasso each year. This cost millions to the Rothschilds over the years, but can you genuinely place a price on combining 2 of your greatest passions? Well, actually you can, $700 a bottle. As I already told you, the Rothschilds spend only if they can make a profit in the long run. So, the Chateau Mouton Rothschild is one gorgeous mix of the family's most beloved passions. Is it any surprise that that chateau is worth around $200 million today? Not that they will sell it anytime soon, but just having such lavish property is a statement on its own. To the Rothschilds' most expensive real estate, the story is just wholesome. It's a story about love. No, not the boring kind we've seen 1,000 times. It's a story about the love between 2 siblings. Actually, there should be a movie about Baron Ferdinand de Rothschild and his little sister, Alice. Ferdinand was 8 years older than his sister, but he loved her to bits. So, when he was sent off to England at the age of 17, it was heartbreaking for both of them. Ferdinand was living in London, while Alice was in Vienna. 20 years would pass before they see each other again, and though they kept in touch only through the mail, the traditional one, which took 2 weeks to get from Great Britain to Austria, they couldn't be there for each other through the most challenging times in their lives. Ferdinand lost his child at birth, and just a few days later, his wife. But Alice was not allowed to comfort her brother. It was when her father died in 1874 that she finally left for England to reunite with her brother. Baron Ferdinand was so happy to see his little sister that he decided to build her a stunning home, one that would complement her elegance and beauty. Thus, the Waddesdon Manor came to be. The Baron spared no expense in building an architectural landmark. He invested 1.5 million British pounds, equivalent to 265 million USD today. There, Alice would spread her wings and become one of the biggest art collectors, socialites, and one of the most powerful women in the world at the time. She designed the home's interior and exterior, showcasing her class. But Waddesdon Manor was more than a home. It was a museum of Alice's and Ferdinand's extensive art collections. Tapestries, furniture, ceramics, books, and all sorts of treasures. Outside, the gardens cost Baron Ferdinand another fortune, as today the manor's grounds alone would have cost the owner $86 million. Still, that's a small price to pay for making your little sis happy, isn't it? Today, Waddesdon Manor is a museum of Alice's grand vision. There, the public can witness Baron Ferdinand and Alice's breathtaking art collections. Actually, if there is something in common between every single Rothschild, except, of course, with being five-dimensional lizards controlling the world with telekinetic powers, it is their love for art. The Rothschilds' collection could fill entire cities with priceless pieces of art. Though for insurance purposes, the main body of the art collection is valued at $2 billion. The whole art collection is truly priceless. There are tapestries from the Byzantine Empire, antiques that date back to William the Conqueror time, and some conspiracy theories even suggest that the family owns several religious artifacts like the Holy Grail, the original blueprints of Noah's Ark, and even locks of hair from Jesus Christ. Now that sounds preposterous, even for the world's most wealthy and influential family. Stepping back to reality, their art collection was truly astounding. And no wonder a small-time garage painter, who later became a bloodthirsty, power-hungry, psychotic dictator, took a liking to the Rothschilds' art pieces. Though not too keen on wealthy Jewish families, he didn't mind taking a sizable chunk of their collection during France's occupation from Nazi Germany. The small man with huge ambitions and a silly moustache personally arrived to pick up the loot. 3,500 pieces went missing. And although some were returned after the war, the majority are still scattered around the world, waiting to be found. Who knows? If you find one, the Rothschilds may even reward you, or at least take you for a spin in their interdimensional spaceship. But enough about the Rothschilds' luxurious purchases. This opulent family truly spends their money on investments, a lot of them. Some more liberal bleach users are adamant that the Rothschilds have a controlling share of all major banks in the world. Someone called JP Morgan and let them know they no longer have their own bank. Still, the power of the Rothschilds is undeniable. They have control over some of the biggest companies in the world. Wherever there is money to be made, the Rothschilds have investments. This is from the days of old, when in 1769, the Rothschild patriarch Mayer Amschel Rothschild was hired by the Crown Prince Wilhelm of Hesse. Once the young prince came into power in 1785, he appointed Mayer to manage his kingdom's finances as a court Jew. Yes, I know this title would raise an eyebrow or two these days, but back then, this was a rare honor. This was the highest position that any Jew may hope for in a Catholic-dominated Europe. Every wealthy aristocrat had a court Jew, whom they entrusted with managing their money. The Bible forbade lending money in exchange for profit. Most aristocrats in those days indeed had the moral compass of a drunken British soccer fan during a riot. But they had to keep their God-obeying appearance, or they risked losing not only the respect of their peers, but their lands and wealth as well. Many Jews, like the Rothschilds, saw this as an opportunity to gain vast riches. Mayer invested the money he earned in a bank. This became a trend, where reinvesting the riches brought even more dough. So today, everywhere you look, the Rothschilds are there. Gas and petrol, for example, Agora Oil and Gas is at the forefront of the industry. The company was bought for merely $370 million. Spare change, really. Today, the company is worth well over $1.4 billion. In just under a decade, Lord Rothschild made a cool billion-dollar profit for the family. Now, striking oil in the North Sea just months after the family took control of the company didn't exactly disprove conspiracy theorists that the Rothschilds have powers beyond our comprehension, but hey, it might just be luck. And with gas and oil prices soaring after the COVID pandemic and the friendly neighborhood visit by Russia in Ukraine, this venture seems like a gold mine on its own. Still, while they did diversify their portfolio, the Rothschilds never forgot where their money came from initially. Banking indeed sounds like a good investment, especially if you have several $1 trillion in capital to secure your business. Their banking empire didn't grow without its fair share of controversies. In the 18th century, when wars were as common as sneezing, the Rothschilds clan ensured they were always on the winning side. How did they do that, I hear you asking? Well, they had a bank in every major country in Europe. Austria, France, the Holy Roman Empire, Great Britain, and later the United States. Thus, they made sure to finance both sides whenever there was a war. Profiting was inevitable. Over the years, keeping track of all their banks became a chore, especially in the 20th century, when banks began spreading like mushrooms after rain. Thus, Jacob Rothschild had a brilliant idea. He established a trust that would consolidate and operate all family banks in the United Kingdom. So, the Rothschild Investment Trust was born. This industry giant is worth more than $7.7 billion, despite selling off their Royal Bank of Scotland shares in 1985. Since each giant corporation needs an equally impressive headquarters, Jacob bought the famous Spencer House to ensure RIT Capital Partners employees would feel dominated and humbled whenever they came to work. This palace, nestled in the heart of London, is truly a prized possession of the RIT, with its golden decoration, antique furniture, and art pieces by renowned masters hanging on every wall. The house was renovated in the late 1980s and is widely known as London's most extensive renovation of the 20th century. Indeed, a title befitting this massive and ultra-expensive project costing £35 million. Today, this lavish house is worth north of $100 million. A pretty good price for what's essentially a palace in the middle of London. Unfortunately, it's not really on the market, so don't expect to see a particular Saudi prince waltzing inside anytime soon. Indeed, when it comes to the Rothschilds' investments, the $7.7 billion worth of RIT is nothing but pocket change. After all, money is for chumps. The truly wealthy measure their riches in pounds, or more accurately, in carats. Being the family responsible for the myth that Jews hoard all the world's gold, one can easily conclude how much gold the family owns. Hint, it's a lot of it. They not only have gold bars, but also own several gold mines across the world. Those, however, are not the most profitable mines in their portfolio. This honor goes to Rio Tinto. The mining corporation is worth $103 billion and is the second largest metal mining corporation in the world. Moreover, Rio Tinto is a testament to the Rothschilds' industrial spirit. It was just a small local mining operation when they bought the company 150 years ago. Today, Rio Tinto is the biggest producer of copper in the world, with a yearly turnover of $30 billion. Not a bad purchase indeed, and a tough act to follow if you ask me. Actually, this was always a huge cloud hanging above every Rothschild in history. They needed to be better to make their ancestors proud. Edmund Adolphe de Rothschild was no different, except he was a bit down on his luck. Though he had a brilliant education in Geneva and a secure job as a banker, Edmund didn't seem to shine in any way. His father often told him the family story and gave his cousins as examples of success. More often than not, Edmund felt his father wanted to have his cousins as children rather than him. Thus, he decided to prove his father wrong, and future generations to point at his portrait when giving examples of a successful Rothschild. And oh boy, did he manage to do that. In 1953, when he was only 27, Edmund established La Compagnie Financière, hoping to become the leading global interdealer broker. Just half a century later, his legacy is worth nearly $212 billion. The company is managing financial operations in Switzerland, which, along with its chocolate, unwillingness to join sides, and incredibly photogenic cows, is also well known for its superior banking sector. Today, the company is run by Edmund's son, Benjamin de Rothschild, who managed to expand the business to over 30 countries. Who knows? One day, Benjamin may even surpass the most expensive investment the Rothschild family ever made, the Glencore Mining Company. When you own a company employing 145,000 people, it's hard to explain how you don't have power over a particular government. Imagine 145,000 people going on a protest because you decided to follow some ecological policies and decided to limit mining in certain areas. That's the power the Rothschilds wield in Australia. So, you don't want coal-fueled industries in your country. Good luck. When Glencore puts out more than 110 million tons annually, they need markets to sell it. So either you play ball or you're out of office in the next election cycle. Thus, this mega corporation, owning several mines and the world's largest deposit of zinc and lead, is worth nearly $130 billion. So, yeah, some of the conspiracies about the Rothschilds may actually turn out true. Indeed, no other family can come even close to the colossal Rothschild family wealth. However, there's one family that's on their way to surpass the Rothschilds and their vast political power and immense wealth. Care to learn more about them? Just click on this video next.